Hi, John.
Hi, John.
Silence my phone here.
So I thought, Eric and Lee, we'd start kind of with the beginning. Maybe some things people have heard before, but when you guys started playing together in a traditional or Americana style. Where and when?
We started taking lessons in Cherubusco, New York, at Dick's Country Store in Music Oasis. It's still there. It's been there a long time. I was 12 and Lee was 11, and we came home from school one day, and our father was sitting at the kitchen table and said, "Well, boys, you're gonna start taking lessons. One's gonna learn to play banjo, and one's gonna learn to play the guitar." And he didn't really force us to do it. He said, "I want you to at least try it, and if you don't like it, you don't have to stick with it, but give it a try." And we had a teacher named Eric O'Hara. He's just a kid just out of college, and he was very patient and kind and made us feel like we were really good even when we weren't very good at all. And we kept wanting to go back each week, and we did that for a year and a half. And we had a lot of family support, a lot of on my mom's side and my dad's side, that they wanted to hear us play, and spent a lot of time in my mom's kitchen on Friday nights, playing for the aunts and uncles and cousins, and played in church, went to fiddle contests, and started going to bluegrass festivals. We didn't have a lot of bluegrass festivals in upstate New York. So
no, we sort of heard about the bluegrass festivals at the fiddle contest. I remember pretty early on, or maybe 13 or so, we ran into Ronnie Feinberg, whose boys have a duo in Long Island. He was at a fiddle contest in, I think it was Brushton, New York. And he's a student at Potsdam University, and he was playing with the Fox family, which a lot of you folks probably know the Fox family or know the music. And so some of those connections we made really early, Candy being one of them.
Well, yeah, I mean,
still in our lives.
We ended up going to Smoky Greens Festival.
His final one.
In what town was that?
It was in
Schuylerville?
Schuylerville.
Or Washington County Fairgrounds.
That's in Schuylerville.
And, yeah, okay. And we met Candy. I was 17, you were 16, she was 19 maybe.
No, I ain't playing.
We hung out a little bit, sang some songs together, and she said,
Bobby brought us.
Yeah, our Uncle Bob brought us to that festival. And
hey, Bob.
And anyway, Candy said, I have a grandfather named Fernand Parker, and he has a venue called the Weston Playhouse, and I bet you he'd like you guys. And he heard us, and he did like us, and we played that the Weston Playhouse, and I noticed, that there were a lot of different license plates in the parking lot from all over New England. And once we started doing those shows, we started getting booked all over New England. So we'll always be grateful to Candy and Fernand for that. That's kind of how it got started.
What might we have heard at Smoky Greens Festival or beforehand? What's one of those early tunes before you all started writing and having songs sent to you?
Sweet Child of Mine was all over the radio.
Yeah, it was. Guns N' Roses was big back then. We did like congratulations. We did in B back then. Want to do an A now?
Well, wherever you want to sing it, Eric.
Let's do an A. Let's do it the right way.
Right way.
Do a verse. We did it wrong back then, but
So what's the whole thing?
it's called "Congratulations Anyway" by Jim and Jesse. We never do it. I saw you in your new love today. Although I tried to turn my head and look the other way, just being there so close to you was more than I could bear. Although I tried, I can't forget about our love affair. Congratulations was so hard to say as I shook your new love's hand. You looked the other way. And although my dreams have ended, I try to smile and say, I'm the loser, but congratulations anyway. Although my dreams have ended, I try to smile
what led to the singing? What switched over from the instrumentals lead to the singing?
Well, when we started playing in church, we weren't really ready for the morning service on Sundays. We played the evening service, and it got sort of we'd be sitting there at Sunday school or whatever, and Reverend Finley would say, "And the Gibson boys will be here tonight, playing their banjo and guitar." So we knew we were going to church that night.
Can we do it?
Had you already been that morning?
Yeah. We did it like twice. So we played. Eventually, we got some Easter services and stuff like that. We pulled the better gigs. But he said to us, he goes, "You boys should think about singing. Words are important. The message." So that's kind of
People like words.
Yeah, that's what kind of got us singing. And Eric started singing lead, and I'd sort of just mumble a tenor part behind him in the background. I remember not ever wanting to look up when I was playing. Just I looked probably like the weirdest kid in church ever, but I'm sitting there playing. He'd be playing the Old Rugged Cross and the banjo.
I played better than that.
Well, anyway, so that's what got us into singing. And right around that time, our friends the Stomans who were here this weekend, they had one of their friends come down to the farm. They would visit on weekends a lot. We met them at the Cherubusco Field Day, I think. And a man named Bob Fuller came down, and he brought a bag full of dubbed. Now I know as a professional musician now that these were pirated tapes. But back then it was just like gold. It's like, wow. But had he not shared that music with us, whether it was, illegally dubbed from an LP or whatever, we never would have heard it. So I think I'm grateful that he did that. He
brought a bag full of
bust. Yeah,
and he said, "Here," he said, "I want you to learn this first generation stuff before the new grass ruins you." But I like new grass. I like it all. But we started out Bill Monroe, Flat and Scruggs, Jim and Jesse, Reno and Smiley, Red Allen,
Buck Owens.
Yeah, well, Buck Owens was. I bought those. I bought those pirated ones myself. Those weren't free.
Shannon, anything you remember about when the boys first started singing, or why they sang?
Well, I would say church was a lot to do with it. I would say that. And they started singing in church and then realized their voices blended. They began to blend, and it was a proud moment. So.
Any of those songs you remember as favorites?
Pick a good one.
Pardon?
Pick a good one.
One of mine.
The Old Rugged Cross. Do you know that one?
No, never heard
of it. Remember that one?
I played on the banjo, I never sang it.
All right, you do the choosing. You know what you're
No,
I'm not.
She just lied about church.
That's the last.
Intro?
Yeah.
Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are you fully trusting in His grace this hour? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are you washed in the blood, in the soul cleansing blood of the Lamb? Are your garments spotless? Are they white as snow? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are they white as snow? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are your garments spotless? Are they white as snow? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb?
songs. So.
Tell people what you mean by that. Maybe folks who aren't singers.
Well, when you sing a song together, you wind up either you can breathe at the same point where there's a pause in the phrasing, or you can where nothing happens, or you can try to sneak a breath in when he's singing a part on those call and response songs, and I totally forgot where I used to breathe.
It's been 30 years,
Yeah.
25 years.
Yeah, so I'm running out of air.
Did someone talk to you guys about that when you were teens, or did you figure that out just as you were going, that you
Still
realized?
figuring it out.
Yeah.
No, we never really had any vocal instruction.
I got kicked out of chorus. So.
Are you chewing gum in a workshop? That's probably what got you kicked out of chorus.
So tell us about how Hay Holler came about, Carrie Hay, and signing to a label that was really, really important in the 90s.
Well, we had made a few self-produced records, a couple cassettes and a CD, and we were starting to get around, starting to play regionally in New England, and we started sending some of the CD out underneath the Harvest Moon to radio stations, started getting a little bit of attention, and we applied for a showcase at IBMA in 1995, I think, and we didn't get it. We were the last. We were the alternates, first alternate, and they picked 20 bands, and we were number 21. And then one of the bands couldn't make it, so they asked us to come down and to Owensboro, Kentucky, and we were the first showcase of the whole thing, and we had a good night. We delivered. We were nervous, but there was something about us that people liked. The crowd responded to us, and we ended up getting a record deal. A small label out of Blacksburg, Virginia, called Hay Holler, and it's a small label, but Carrie Hay gave us a lot of his energy. He really pushed us, and he believed in us, and we owe a debt to him. And we recorded 3 albums for him in the 90s, 95 and 96, 97, 98. I think we had just about a record a year for a while.
And tell us about your sidemen back then with Hay Holler, because they were big contributors.
Back then, the Gibson brothers, it was Junior Barber, Mike Barber, and Eric and me. It was a 4-piece band, and put a lot of miles on in Junior's Dodge Caravan back then. That's how we pretty much traveled. And learned about the business the hard way, and I remember one time, I still do the travel for the band, but back then that was part of my responsibility for the band. What was yours? Yours was
PR.
PR. It still is PR.
But you know what he says PR is? Plenty of rest.
Well, anyway, I remember we got booked to play a show in California after that first Hay Holler record came out. I got pricing flights, and I'm like, wow, they're very expensive out of Albany. And I found some cheaper flights out of Nashville. So I brought it to the band. I said, hey, the flights are like $200 a ticket cheaper out of Nashville. And they're all like, well, let's drive there and fly out of Nashville. That's what I was thinking. So we drove down. I remember stopping by Doobie Shea Studios in Ferrum, Virginia on that 17-hour ride home. And Tim Austin, the owner, says, you guys got a gig around here? And we said, well, we just played in California, and we flew back into Nashville and driving home. Just look at us. So we did a lot of things wrong, and learned from it. Really learned from it. It was fun. It was stupid and fun. It was my first plane ride, in fact. Flew out of Nashville, and but Carrie, like Eric was saying, Carrie Hay was great for us, and Junior was a really good teacher. About working as a team. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we learned, a lot of that can be credited to Junior, and a lot of it can be credited to Mike, because you sort of have the yin and yang there, personality-wise, between Mike and his dad. Mike's very much a free spirit, and Junior'd been in the military, and so, Junior wasn't as much in the exploratory side of things, and Mike was like, why not try it? Because Mike joined our band after playing guitar in a rock and roll band, and he started playing bass for about a year, and then became part of the band. And so nothing seemed impossible to Mike.
No.
And it's
Let's try it.
Yeah, it's probably why I play guitar the way I do, differently than most bluegrass guitar players, is because I grew up playing with him.
Junior gave us a discipline, you know.
Yeah.
And
we were 20 and
we were in early 20s, and
yeah.
he was a legend in our area, you know. And we just and we would usually defer to Junior. And but I remember we played the Ryman for the first time, and Junior said, "Now boys," he was always afraid that we were going to get out of control and play too rowdy. Now boys, let's play with control tonight. Mike said, "No, let's play like we always play." so we did.
Any song come to mind from those Hay Holler?
Well, let's do our first song that ever charted was written by Seth Sawyer.
Yeah.
And let's do it. It's called "Long Forgotten Dream." Shadows on a long forgotten roadway, leading back to an old grown-up field. An old deserted homestead and the pathway to a clear spring, reminders of a long forgotten dream. Fields full of trees, stone walls are falling down, reminders of a long forgotten dream. Once alive in a young couple's heart, that old farm sure is a lonesome place to be. Inscriptions on the tombstone say I love you. They're reminders of a long forgotten dream. Fields full of trees, stone walls are falling down, reminders of a long forgotten dream. Once alive in a young couple's heart, that old farm sure is a lonesome place to be. That's the story of a dream that held eternity, it seems. Cry to the winds of fate. And every time that I pass by, teardrops fill my eyes, for that long forgotten dream belongs to me. That's the word, don't tell sad.
So in 1998, Emerging Artist of the Year went to the Gibson brothers.
Yeah.
And who were some of the other bands that you guys remember from those years on the...
Nickel Creek, I think.
Yeah, Nickel Creek was up that year.
But who ever heard of them? Whatever happened to them?
Yeah,
We showed them.
take that, dealer.
And when you, I think when you accepted Entertainer of the Year in 2012, you thanked Ricky Skaggs for teaching you how to make a record. And I was hoping both you guys could just talk about, I mean, it's hard to imagine a more formidable and influential artist in both bluegrass and country music. So to say something like that was just very powerful. Tell us about
I'll tell you
that.
what, growing up, I had no bigger hero musically than Ricky Skaggs. I can still say that. And we took a stab at making a country record with Ricky right after we won that award, and kind of disappeared for a while. Because the record we made, we were trying to make a real country record, because we did not like what was going on in Nashville. We didn't like what was being called country, and I still don't. And but anyway, I was fighting a losing battle, because the record we made,
Well,
there wasn't a market
was
for
like,
it.
it can't get any worse.
Yeah, right. And there wasn't a market for it, you know, but we did get to work in the studio with Ricky Skaggs and pay attention to how he did things, and he knows what he's doing, you know.
Yeah.
and you
They're-
can't help but absorb.
He's got probably the best ears on the planet. I mean, he just got incredible ears.
And I felt, even though we weren't traveling for a couple of years because we kind of put all our eggs in that basket, we came away better as a result. We came away with a plan and came back stronger than than if we had just been staying on the path that we were on. I'm thankful for that time, even though I don't have a record. We don't have a record to show for it, But I think we really grew as musicians during that time, writers, singers, and so hopefully, hopefully I answered your question.
What's an example, Lee, of when you said his ears, and just so we could understand, not having been in that position?
Just how he, we worked with a couple producers. Alan O'Brien had produced a record on us, and Tim Austin had produced a record. But Ricky was the first time that I really went to a studio and watched like not my band, but other musicians that were all fabulous players take direction from Ricky. How to produce, how to work with guys to try to get stuff out of them, figure out how to articulate what you wanted to hear coming from them, and I'd never really seen that before, because when it's being done to you, you sort of miss the boat, but to sit in the control room with him and watch him work with another player to try to get a better take out of them without making them realize he's trying to get a better take out of them, that was a real lesson. I think that's kind of what I was talking about, and it's because when you're in that booth and Eric's trying to get me to do something better, he and I have each other figured out. He can't play those tricks on me, and I can't play them on him, but I could see Ricky doing it.
But I also respected how those guys got together.
Yeah.
Even though they were recording, they were making music and they were having fun.
Yeah.
And they get done the song and they just keep playing and playing and playing. Just
Yeah.
like they were in the moment. They weren't scared of that red light being on.
Yeah. Yes. It was a big lesson.
They weren't worried about the clock ticking.
Any songs from that period, recorded, unrecorded, that's just that were on your mind back then that you all used to sing?
Your turn. I keep choosing stuff. We did Bottomland back then. We did all Crush the Line.
To that.
Yeah, you have a lot of. You have some requests for that today too. So you have to do that on stage.
Okay.
I will always trust your mind when the lonesome wind lingers in the pines. It'll whisper my name all along the timber line. I will always trust your mind. When the morning sun warms your skin gently holding on. I will always cross your mind. When the night is long and the moon softly shines, it'll quietly remind you of the love you left behind. I will always cross your mind. Whisper my name all along the timberline. I will always cross your mind.
So round about that time, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou came out and started a whole
You know,
explosion.
it
of
was an
music.
explosion. Good thing we're sitting on the sidelines doing nothing with our bluegrass, huh?
Well, yes and no. No, because Bonafide came out in 2003, and Bonafide had a connection there. What was the connection? What was the catalyst of Bonafide?
Between that and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Oh, there's a line from the movie that
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
stole.
Yeah, I used that phrase in a song, so I stole it. Yeah. There's a tune called The Open Road where I say she's bonafide. Yeah, I guess I borrowed it.
Yeah, 'cause there's a scene in the movie where like, the girl said, "Oh, I'm marrying him. He's bona fide." So it's cute.
It's hard for me, and Phil and I have talked about this, to think of an album that's got more requested songs on it than Bonafide. And I'm curious to know, with Bonafide, your first release on Sugar Hill, years in the making. What's your thinking of how you put that together? There's such a strong compilation of material there.
We were writing a lot during that time. During the time that we weren't traveling, we were writing a lot. And I remember right before we went in the studio, Tom T and Dixie invited us over for dinner. Tom T and Dixie Hall, and
Name dropper.
well, part of the story. Anyway, Tom said, "What have you been working on? What have you guys been writing?" So we got the guitars out, and we all started doing songs. And one of the guitars he got out was a black Farrington guitar that Johnny Cash had given him, and we both played E chords on it, and Lee grabs it and played something. Bing! He breaks a string, and Tom jumped out of his chair and he carefully wrapped up that string, and he saved the string. Thought, my God, our heroes have heroes too, And but Johnny Cash is a hero too. But that struck me that's how big Johnny Cash was. That somebody like Tom T would save a string that Lee broke.
Apparently Johnny Cash didn't play D'Addario strings.
Name dropper. But Tom asked us to play some songs, and he said, "Man, you're gonna make a great record," because the songs we were playing were the songs that ended up on Bonafide, like Vern's Guitar, and Open Road, and Railroad Line, and Ragged Man, and songs that we get requests for every show now. Anyway, I think we play them better now, sing them better now, but there's a certain charm to them, maybe.
Yeah.
Anything from that album or one of your Sugar Hill releases that comes to mind?
Let's do Bonafide.
Yeah, let's do one you wrote. Ready?
Well, babe's got a new dress. She got her new shoes too. She got a pocketbook full of everything we'll never use. But she looks real pretty, if I do say so, out on the open road. We got the ragtop band and the radio up, and there's a rubber necker hanging down the bed. sweet and bold out on the open road.
About Ring the Bell, the song, and I'm curious to know. Just you said something like one song when it catches hold of people's hearts and minds can make a huge difference. And I wondered if you could just talk about that more.
Yeah, I mean we see that time and time again in the music business that one song can turn things around, you know. And not that we were completely flailing around in the ocean, but we were struggling, you know, and we were doing okay, but it seemed like we needed a shot in the arm. And
I remember a couple meetings with our agent, you know, where you go into the office like out of a movie, and you sit down like, what's going on? It's like, not much.
At one point he says, you're not on the back burner. You're not even on the oven, on the stove, on the stovetop. Oh, you know, so we were kind of struggling, you know. And,
he's still our agent too.
Yeah, but he's getting us.
There's honesty, you know.
He's very honest, you know. But anyway, we were in Muncie, Indiana, at this venue. They told us to get there for 3 or 4. We thought we were going on at 8. And we get there, and nobody was there, were they? When we first got there, there were
a couple of people working there.
But we found out that there was an opening band that we didn't know about, and that band was going on at 11.
Yeah.
So we weren't too happy.
We didn't plan on hanging in Muncie.
No, not that there's anything wrong with that, but we wouldn't have rushed to have gotten there, and we weren't in a very good mood about it. And
well, we sort of driven from the evening before from somewhere in Ohio to a plenty of capacity show.
Yeah, we're on a tough run, you know.
Yeah.
And, but anyway, the opening act kicked off with that song, "Ring the Bell." And, oh my God, that's us. That song is us. You know, if we get that song and record it right, I think that'd make a difference. And I went up to Chet O'Keefe, the writer. I said, "Where'd you get that song?" He said, "I wrote it." I said, "Would you send it to me if I give you my address?" He said, "Yeah." And I thought, I'll never get that song. He sent it, and then we recorded it, and it won Song of the Year, and it won Gospel Recorded Event, and it was on Bluegrass radio all the time, and bookings started to follow. The awards started to, you know, things started to turn around with that song, you know. And so, yeah, that's how I feel about that song. We needed it. We're still doing it today.
Your albums and songs go up the Bluegrass Unlimited charts going back to the late 90s, and it'd be helpful just to know from a fan perspective, seeing those song plays rise from DJs, but then to hear you guys talk about rough years in terms of booking. Why is there such a disconnect in bluegrass music?
Well,
do you know? I mean,
no, I don't. We always had the support of radio, but that wouldn't always translate to bookings, you know. And it's not like we didn't work. We just didn't work as there's what we do is a business, and it's tied to our emotions, you know, because it's a personal thing that we do, and so you just would feel like you weren't moving forward, you know. And I think that's probably, if you had to describe it,
Yeah.
that's, you just don't feel like you're moving forward, and if you're not moving forward, then you're not growing. And the reason that we do this is to grow. I've had several people tell me this weekend, you guys, you all seem to improve, and that's great. That's the thing I want people to recognize. I want to improve. I want to be better. For me first, and then for everybody else. It's great, you know, and to grow together with great musicians is wonderful. But when you don't get the bookings, it doesn't support your habit of playing music. You know, if the money doesn't come in with the kind of bookings you want, then it's hard to keep everybody making a living, you know. And so it was just a very frustrating, non-forward moving thing that I can't tell you. I mean, there are things you could look at that time frame. Sugar Hill Records was based in Durham, North Carolina, and that's the label we were with. And they had a satellite office in Nashville, and they wound up, their West Coast parent company wound up closing their offices in North Carolina. So all the people that worked our records and had signed us were let go, and everything got moved to Nashville. And so a person who had been answering phones in this office was now the head of the label. Didn't feel like we had the support or the interest of that person. So they released a record. Red Letter Day was released right at the time that was shut down, so that we got really no support or advertising with it, which is, it fuels bookings. Advertising fuels bookings, you know, and profile. And that's the only way I can explain that, you know, why it didn't, you know, why we sort of felt like we hit a wall. And that's around the time we're having those meetings, where Paul's like, you're not even on the stove, boys. Yeah. You know, which is, you know, he was more throwing his, you know, criticism not towards us. He's throwing it, someone needs to do something here. So we did. You know, we filled that contract and moved on to Ring the Bell happened. We signed a contract with another company, and you know, where we felt like we could get some support, and it seemed to work. It seemed to be the right move at the right time.
Yeah. And Help My Brother, and They Called It Music. I can't imagine what it's like not to be a Gibson Brothers fan, but if I can imagine what it's like to not be a Gibson Brothers fan, these albums and your popularity to some, I don't know what it's like to be in those circles in Nashville, just exploded. And it didn't explode at all. You rose to the top because of all your hard work. But what turned with those albums? Do you think it was Farm of Yesterday, Eric, that also then carried Ring the Bell forward? Or
I think Farm of Yesterday helped tell our story to people. You know, people. You're all, not that it's a hook, you know, because it's a true thing. You know, it is who we are. We are farm boys from upstate New York, and we're proud of it. You know, but that song told our story, and maybe that helped. I think a lot of it was just we stayed with it. We stayed in the game a long time, and we improved. You know, and I think sometimes it's a hard thing to admit you're not ready for prime time. You know, you think just because you're working hard, oh, we're there. We probably weren't. You know, and things happen when they were supposed to happen. And
I think they're parts of your talent, or you know, the bands that we had. They're parts of what we're doing that were perhaps ready, but not all parts of it were ready. You know, I've been listening a lot to this thing we just recorded, because it just stands head and shoulders. I feel our vocals are way better than even the stuff we had on Ring the Bell, which is not that long ago. But it's so far, to my ears anyway, so far beyond what we were doing 5 years ago vocally. We just are learning to be better at what we do as we go along. So.
Anything from that upcoming duet album you be willing to share?
Not really. What's that?
whatever you think. Or a long time now.
Let's do that.
Lee was talking so gently, I don't know if you heard it, but we're going to do something off our upcoming album. Did you hear him say it? I don't know what you call it. Yeah. Oh, you did hear it. Okay.
I was telling John we should do it. You were whispering to me, so I whispered back.
I wasn't whispering.
long time gone. Be a long time gone. Be a long time gone. I'll be a long time gone. When I leave, I'll be a long time gone. You'll see my face through tears and sorrow. You'll miss the love you called your own. Maybe there'll be no tomorrow, 'cause when I leave, I'll be a long time gone. Be a long time gone. Be a long time gone. I'll be a long time gone. I'll be a long time gone. When I leave, I'll be a long time gone. Be a long time gone. I'll be a long time gone. I'll be a long time gone. I'll be a long time gone. When I leave, I'll be a long time gone.
Those two farm boys are in the Country Music Hall of Fame in Nashville, Tennessee right now.
Yeah.
Might as well be. Can't get much closer. So who took the phone call?
We got an email.
Yeah.
From the Country Music Hall of Fame. It's an exhibit about modern country. They wanted to show an example of modern bluegrass, and they asked us if they could have a couple of our instruments and one of our Entertainer of the Year trophy, and we said yes. So if you go to Nashville, the Hall of Fame, Lee and I did, and a bunch of tourists were taking pictures, and we were right next to our picture, and they didn't know it was us. I got a kick out of that. Lee was there.
Laughing at Mom.
Mom just looks like my grandmother when she laughs. She covers her mouth. So you can't tell she's laughing, but you can tell. You can always tell.
Talk about that spot at the Grand Ole Opry stage. I remember, I think it was on an interview or maybe at a show, you were talking about a certain spot, and you guys, I think in the first performance of this year, there's 3 or 4 this year, but you walked out to that spot together and exchanged a glance of
No, I was standing in
acknowledgement.
there's a circle on the Grand Ole Opry stage that was part of the Ryman stage, and each time they put me in that, my mic's, I'm standing right in that circle, Lee's just looking over at me and he goes, he touches his toe. He goes like this with his toe, like into the circle, like I want to touch it too.
For whatever reason, they always put him there. You know?
They know.
It's really
So Lee, is that something you had in your sights in the 90s, early on, even the 80s as you were playing on the stage?
You know, back then, yeah, I never dreamed that we'd be doing this. I didn't think. I guess I never really thought about there being an availability for us to make our living playing our music and traveling around. You know, I guess I'm probably a brilliant guy. I thought, well, you know what? I probably could sing tenor and skill or something. You know, back when I was a young kid, or somebody like that, or Skaggs, or not realizing that there's about 300 other guys in line ahead of me that are better at it. You know.
I wanted to be an Emmy Lou's band when I was. Yeah. Emmy Lou or Ricky's.
Yeah.
Emmy Lou.
So, and part of it was I didn't think I could tolerate Eric for this long. I figured I'd have to go to work for somebody else at some point.
Well, we weren't good enough for that, so we.
No, turns out nobody wanted us.
And how's the camaraderie, the reception backstage at the Opry? I'm sure a lot of us, when we've listened to you over the internet or maybe even been there in person, what's the people know your names now? I mean,
Not really. Jesse's pretty good at her name. No, they're really nice, and I have to say, you know, we haven't done the Opry a ton, but we're going to be doing it later next month, like for a third time this year. And you see these icons that I grew up watching and on public television. We of course didn't get the Opry broadcast in Northern New York, but Jimmy Sue Newman just passed, and like Billy Walker. Folks that we've talked to that have come in and they come into your dressing room and say, welcome, glad to have you here, ask a little bit about you. Joe from the Oak Ridge Boys.
Yeah.
Sawyer
Played my banjo.
Comes in, plays the banjo, talks, you know, just good people. And
Bill Anderson was sweet.
Bill Anderson's always great.
Jim Ed Brown.
John Conley, nice people. And that's their gig now, you know, because they tour in the summertime and they have concerts, but they're not on country radio either, you know, so. But they make you feel welcome, and they may not know our names, but you can go there the first time, they're going to treat you like gold. It's very nice. And I'm glad that we've had the opportunity to do it, because we've met some people that have passed on.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd never had the opportunity to say, thank you for your music, you know?
well, before we cross over to some audience questions, is there a favorite song that you guys, your mom or your dad, that you want to kind of close this part with before we open it up?
Mom, what would you like to hear?
Don't do that.
Pick one I know, though.
But you know the problem with me, my memory doesn't hold all that
You're
stuff.
smarter than you think you
Does
are.
everyone know Shannon Gibson, Sitting in Blue?
We have an interesting dynamic. We pick on one another. Mom's the best. What you see is what you get. And my mother, there's no phoniness. She is as nice as she seems. I swear to you. So, pick a song. Do you want to hear that one?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, all right.
Song?
Farther along.
Yes.
What key?
A. Tempted and tried, we're oft made to wonder why it should be thus all the day long, while there are others living among us, never molested, going wrong. Farther along, you know all about it. Farther along, you understand why. Cheer up, my brother, live in the sunshine. We'll understand it all by and by. Then when death has come and taken our loved ones, leaving our home so lonely and drear, and then do we wonder why others prosper, living so wicked here
did good though. Did well though.
Right? So Eric and Lee and the boys are on at 3, so we're going to take about 8 or 10 minutes for questions.